Hi YouTubers, this is Ian with Motorcycling. I'm here to talk about my helmet today. What I'm going to do is, my current helmet is this Shoei helmet right here. My previous helmet was this Nolan helmet right here. This is actually not my helmet. My actual helmet I gave to my brother already, but it's the same exact model, just different size. This one's a small, the Nolan N85, a small. This is the Shoei GT Air Journey in the medium. I'm going to talk about fitment, weight, ventilation, the build quality, and the quietness of the helmet, and then also how it is to ride with the helmet. And as I'm talking about those points, I'm going to compare this helmet with my previous helmet, which is the Nolan helmet. And then I'm going to do a comparison as I walk through each point. I'm also going to, before I do that however, I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why I chose this helmet, why I chose to upgrade, and then a little bit of background of how I came to these two helmets. So I had signed up for a motorcycle safety course, and the course required that I had a helmet for the class. They did let us borrow helmets, except the helmets were worn by hundreds of other people that might have sweat, and they probably did, in these helmets, because the class was held in the middle of July with very high humidity in the 90s. So I would imagine that these people probably sweat in these helmets, so therefore I wanted to buy my own helmet. However, as a college student, I couldn't afford a very nice helmet like this one over here, so I went and bought this one for $200 at my local shop. Now, I have to say though, for $200, this Nolan helmet actually comes with a lot of features. It comes with two ventilation ports at the top right here, some ventilation at the bottom right here. There's a little thing right here that opens up to ventilate. And if you want to look at these helmets in details, there's definitely online vendors that do a better job explaining the helmets than I can. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to compare and give you an idea from a consumer standpoint. Would you upgrade from a premium helmet, or is a $200 helmet good enough for you? Okay, so with that being said, let's moving on here. So at $200, get a very nice visor, and it also has an internal visor, as you can see right here. So I thought to myself when I was at the store, $200, that's not bad to get a helmet with ventilation and an internal visor. And then so that's why I bought the helmet and went to take the class. So let's go on. Let's begin with fitment. First of all, before I talk about fitment here, is I want you guys just to notice something really quick here, is that this helmet is in a medium and this helmet is in a small, and you can see they're almost practically the same size. So do keep in mind that these Shoei helmets, they do run small, just like all the online vendors say. They do run small. So this is a medium and it fits the same. It fits in a medium helmet, and I can't fit in a small because this is way too small for me, but yet the shell itself is the same size as a medium shell in the Shoei. Alright, so let's go on to fitment here. My head measures 21.75 inches, and I bought a medium in the Nolan. However, the Nolan was a little big for me as I wore it. So that's another thing to keep in mind. When you wear your helmets, when you first put it on, it's going to feel a little snug or tight. If it feels tight, then you shouldn't buy the helmet, but if it feels snug, it will loosen up as you take it on and off. Especially the full face helmets, it will loosen up very quickly, and that's what happened with my Nolan helmet. So this helmet right here, when I first put it on, it was very snug and I almost returned it, but then I said no, I think it's going to loosen up, and it did loosen up, and it loosened up very nicely, and now it fits really well. As a matter of fact, I'm probably borderline small in the Shoei, but I'm glad I stayed with the medium because it actually fits really nice and I'm very comfortable with it on my head. This fits an intermediate to oval. That's what my head fitment is, and it fits very well in this helmet. And the Nolan it fit, but it actually didn't, it was a little big, like I said, in the medium. Weight. Let's talk about weight. So you can see that these two look very much the same in terms of size. However, this helmet right here, the Shoei, weighs much lighter than the Nolan, even in the small. So my medium Nolan was actually heavier than my medium Shoei. So that's the weight right there. To give you an idea, when I'm riding with the Nolan helmet, if I'm doing a shoulder check, I feel like there's more weight because as I turn, there's wind pushing against the side of the helmet right here. And I can feel that I cannot rotate my neck as far as I would like. Versus the Shoei helmet, when I shoulder check with it, is smaller and it weighs lighter, so I don't feel like my head is going to come off from the wind. Okay, so let's now talk about ventilation. Okay, I talk a little bit about ventilation up here with the Nolan helmet with the two vents at the top right here, and then the vent down here. The Nolan also has a exhaust, little lip exhaust back here. The Shoei has only one piece that does the ventilation on top, and it opens in 3 positions: small, large, or close. And then it also has ventilation down here in the chin, right here. It also has an exhaust back here, just like the Nolan. But this exhaust, you can actually close or open the exhaust, like so. Okay, so they both do have similar things. The one thing I like about the ventilation on the Shoei is that on the Nolan there's 2 pieces. So when you're riding with your gloves, you have to fiddle. Well, at least I did. I fiddled to get these open if I forgot to open it before I moving on the bike. So I'm literally fighting to get these things open and closed. Okay, so that's one thing. The Shoei helmet, however, with my gloves on, since this is only one piece, it was a lot easier to just move it and fiddle with it until you feel air coming through your head. And that's one of the things I liked about it. So that was my the pro I saw on this in terms of ventilation. In terms of how well it works, the ventilation in this helmet works a lot better than the Nolan helmet. Okay? As a matter of fact, the moment I start moving about 10 miles an hour, I start feeling the wind going through the top channels of the helmet, going all the way back and coming down to the occipital lobe, right down here. And I just felt a huge difference, that the wind would come up here, go all the way to the channels, and come down into the occipital lobe and come out somewhere. But I don't know where it exits. But I feel there's wind down here, and that's where most of the sweat in my head is. And I feel that wind and cooling it down as I'm moving the bike. That is a great feeling. I didn't feel that so much in the Nolan. Okay, so that's ventilation. Alright, and the quietness. This helmet, if you were to look at the bottom here of this helmet, right here, this is the opening of the Nolan. Okay, and I'm going to lift up the opening of the Shoei right here, and you're going to see a difference that the Shoei has a lot more padding. This is kind of hard to see because the Nolan happens to be a small. If I don't have the Nolan in the medium, but the Nolan in the medium, the opening is a lot bigger than the opening in the Shoei. And so the Shoei is a lot more encompassing in terms of the opening on the bottom, and therefore it's quieter. So to give you an idea, I ride a Harley Sportster with some aftermarket exhaust. So when I wear the Nolan, literally after I get off the bike, my ears will be ringing in the Nolan. When I first got the Shoei and I put it on, first of all, I feel like there's a few decibels of a difference in terms of less noise, and then I don't get that ring in the ear anymore. So that's my take on the ventilation. I mean, on the quietness of the Shoei. The build quality is this. You can see that there's all these nicks and crannies, all these cracks of the padding and the shell put together, and then there's little details in terms of the rubber pieces that are put together. The rubber piece on the Nolan feels like you can see that it's not completely all the way attached in. You can see the piece that's not completely connected together right here. But however, on the Shoei, it looks like it's just one piece. This right here, if you look carefully, there's a gap right there between with the sealing piece right here. But on the Shoei, there's no gap. It's all one solid piece that goes all the way in. And that's just an example of one little piece that is on the Shoei helmet. When I pick up the Nolan, I can feel it squeaking. I can feel it's just the pieces are not solidly put together. It doesn't feel like one solid piece. But when I pick up the Shoei, it's very quiet. I don't hear anything squeaking, and it feels like one solid piece. That it's not going to fall apart on me. And I do have to say, this does have the sun visor right here. The sun visor comes down a lot more space than the Nolan. It covers a lot more space, I mean. So to build it, that's to sum it up. This helmet feels a lot more solid than the other helmet, than the Nolan helmet. And then so overall, I really like the Shoei helmet. And it's not, you know, when I first bought it, it was $600, and I thought, that's just a gimmick. Is it really worth the extra $400 in price difference? And here's what I have to say. This helmet has better graphics. It comes with this black and red. It makes it very unique. The Journey is the graphics design of the GT Air. The GT Air, it comes in solid colors. And I think it's $100 less. So basically, you get the solid, the silver, the black, and it's $100 less. For an extra $100, you get these cool graphics designs. So this happens to be the black and red. There's also white and red and blue, and then there's also silver and black. Okay, so I like the graphics design, so I decided, okay, fine, I'll spend $100. But what about the other $300? The other $300, you get ventilation that's convenient. The functionality is the same, but I don't have to use my gloves to fiddle to find the ventilation. I could literally work the ventilation while riding, while the bike is moving. I get more space on the visor. You can see the difference here between the Nolan and how much space you're getting, and then how much space you're actually getting with the Shoei. Okay? And then you also get a tight fit with the ventilation because it has a spring-loaded system on the sides. And when you lift it up and then lift it down, when they first advertised it, I thought, that's just a gimmick. Seriously? But it actually works. It actually works very well. When you push it down, it's very hard to get it up and down. But when you do push it down, the spring does pull the visor all the way into the helmet, making a tight seal. So that's where the quietness comes from. Is everything is tightly sealed in a way that you don't hear a lot of road noise or just outside noise compared to this helmet. Okay? So then the ventilation works a lot better. The channels that work the air into here and go all the way back to the back of your head to keep that air cool back there, that works a lot better than a Nolan. I feel it. It's not something I'm making up. It's not something they advertise. I feel it. Also, the visor, if you notice right here, it's all one sleek line of the visor. Okay, all one solid piece. But the Shoei itself, there is a raised part right here. And you can see it right here. That's because they're accommodating the visor. So the shell itself, they're not shaving off any layer of the shell to protect your head. They're actually creating a raised part to put the visor in. So the internal shell is still the same thickness at that point, at that part where the visor is. But the Nolan, that's not the case. They shaved off the piece to fit the visor. There needs to be a space for the visor, and that's what they did. They just left the visor in there, and they shaved off the part of the protection of the shell. But Shoei, however, did not. They left it raised up a little bit so they can fit the visor. That is worth it to me, the extra $100. Okay? So the $300 is more protection, even with the visor, more space to see, ventilation, intuition. I can use it with one hand. And it's definitely quiet. The build quality is much better. And then the actual internal cheek pads are much thicker. And these little red loops right here are emergency to rip out the cheek pads if when the emergency ambulance comes and gets you, if you were to go down, they can rip that out without hurting your head or your neck. So those are all the reasons why I bought this helmet. Okay? Overall, I like this helmet. All the functions advertised by Shoei were true to their words, and they weren't just gimmicks. They weren't just a way to get another $400. They actually are luxurious things. That's the whole thing about buying a helmet that's $200 versus a $600 helmet. The protection, they're both going to have the shell. They're both going to protect you. They're dot approved, okay? But what you're getting in this $600 helmet is luxurious things. Functionality with luxury. You have the luxury of having a nice graphics. You have the luxury of using your one-handed glove to move these ventilation. And you have the luxury of having more ventilation. You have the luxury of having a quieter helmet and a lighter helmet. You have the luxury of having more viewing space. You have the luxury of having a visor without compromising shell protection. So those are the things that you get with a premium helmet. And that is the reason why I upgrade to a premium helmet. So with all that being said, how do I protect my helmet? Well, I use Class A on all my helmets. I actually put Class A on this Nolan helmet too. This is a sealant. There's also another product called Zaino. It's spelled Z-A-I-N-O. I actually don't have any because I ran out. This bottle is almost empty. Basically, this is a sealant with a gloss, and that's why you see the gloss in my helmets, even though I've been riding with it all summer long. And what it does is I put 3 coats on there. The first coat, clean, especially when you first get your helmet home, seal the heck out of it. And then I put 3 layers on here, and then every time I come home, I've ridden in this thing with mosquitoes literally covering my whole entire windshield and on top, everywhere. It looked like it was a field of crops on my helmet. So when I come home, I take a microfiber towel with a little bit of water, wipe it all off, and then I dry it with another towel that is not the one that you use to wipe with water. But then I dry it with this towel, and it completely looks like this every single time. So that is my review or overview of my Shoei helmet in comparison with the Nolan helmet. And I just went over, is it worth it to get a $600 helmet? To me, bottom line is, yes it is. And if you do get a $600 helmet, protect your graphics with it, protect your helmet with it. And if you have any questions, leave a comment at the bottom. Subscribe. I apologize for such a long video, but I had a lot to say about this helmet, and I love this helmet. And if you were to look, you don't have to buy this particular brand, but a premium helmet is worth it in its own ways. But you gotta do your research. Again, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you later. This is Ian with Motorcycling. I'll see you next time.